Hey guys, here's how to buy a home in 2025. Step 1, you have to ask yourself, are you even ready to buy a house? That's the first step. Seriously, look in the mirror and say, am I ready to buy a home or am I just doing this on an impulse? And the 3 things you should really ask yourself is 1, do you have steady income? 2, is your debt to income ratio about 36%? In other words, your debt payment shouldn't be more than like 30-40% of what you're bringing in gross per month. And the 3rd is your credit score, because a good credit score equals lower interest rates, and lower interest rates equal more house for your money. Second step to buying a home. How much house can you afford? That's the secret sauce to not being house poor. Do not buy more house than you can handle. I recommend not spending more than like 30% of your net income on all household expenses. That includes mortgage, taxes, insurance, HOA fees, utilities, things like that. And whatever you do, don't guess. If you need help figuring something like that out, hit me up. That's why I'm here. Step 3 to buying a home in 2025. Your down payment and your closing costs. Those are the 2 big chunks of cash you got to worry about. Down payment's the most well-known, and if you can, save up about 20% of what you think your purchase price is going to be. 20% will keep you from paying PMI or private mortgage insurance. That's another way of saying free money for the bank. But the second thing most people overlook is your closing costs. So you want to budget about an extra 3% on top of your 20% down payment. This will cover your appraisals, your title fees, and all the other great stuff banks like to charge you for, like origination fees. Okay, now we're 3 steps in. If you're thinking, man, this sounds overwhelming, don't stress about it. That's why I'm here. I'll put some contact info in the description. You can give me a shout if you got any questions. Okay, the 4th step in owning a home in 2025, you got to get pre-approved. Before you even look at houses, get pre-approved for a mortgage. This shows sellers that you're serious, and it speeds up the process when you do find that perfect home. Plus, it just helps you know your numbers, because there's no sense in falling in love with the house you can't afford, right? But a good rule of thumb and a quick tip for you. When you do go to get pre-approved, don't ask them what you can get pre-approved for. That's like going to the barber and asking for a haircut. And when you tell a mortgage broker or a banker to pre-approve you, they're going to pre-approve you for the maximum amount. They're not going to consider that you like to go bowling twice a week or that you like to eat out regularly with your wife. Remember what I said, don't be house poor. When you start the pre-approval process, say to the banker or the mortgage broker, this is how much I can afford for a monthly payment. What's my price range? Step 5, work with a realtor or not. Decide whether you're going to be going through the buying process by yourself or you'll be using a realtor to help you purchase. There's this big scary thing that happened last year in August involving an NAR settlement where seller agents can't advertise buyer agency commission anymore. And if you don't navigate the buying process properly, you might get stuck paying your buyer's agency commission on your own. So if you're going to work with a realtor, interview a couple. Don't go with the first guy you meet. Or the purpose of working with a realtor is not just to open up the doors. It's not to give you that gift basket at the end or take a photo of you when you get your sold sign, right? The purpose is for them to help you find the best home for the best price and the least amount of hassle. Best homes, that doesn't include what's on the internet. Because by the time a house hits the internet anymore, if it's a good deal, it's like a swarm of bees. Buyers just converge on it. And while it's not as bad as COVID times, there's still houses that are going multiple offers and over asking. And the best price, that doesn't always mean asking price, and that doesn't always mean the cheapest. I'll give you an example. So recently I had a client who I sold a home to. They asked me, what should we offer? And I said, I think you're going to be getting a lot of competition. I would offer over asking X amount. They took my advice. We won the house. And when we got the house appraised, the house actually appraised for $5,000 more than what they paid. And we had 2 other buyers that we beat out to get that home. So it's important to know market data and what you think a house is going to sell for before you make that offer. You don't want to go in blind. Now, least amount of hassle, getting a house under contract, and we're going to get there, but getting your offer accepted, that's just the first step. Generally, the next 2 phases where that deal can fall through are 1, the home inspection, and 2, the appraisal. Okay, guys, that was step 5. Now we're on to step 6. Fun part begins. Now you're getting out and starting to look at houses. But before you jump in, nail down your criteria the best you can. If it's your first home, you're not going to know what that is until you get out there and start wetting your whistle and looking at places. 3 key points you can keep in mind are, what are your must-haves versus your nice-to-haves? So do you need 4 beds or could you live with a 3? Do you need 2 baths or could you live with 1.5? What's your ideal location? When somebody comes to me and says, hey, I want to live in X city or Y town, that's all well and good. But if you can think of a specific school district and neighborhood, that makes the job even easier, because I can be sure I don't miss any homes that come up for you, and I can prospect an area and get you access to off-market deals. It's hard to do that with an entire city. And also, before you get out there and start looking, know your budget and essentially how much you can afford. We covered that on one of the previous steps. And here's a quick tip on picking the right neighborhood. If you're new to an area and you're thinking of buying a home there, take your dog for a walk or drive around. If the people smile and wave back at you, that's a good sign. They build new houses every day, but good people are hard to find. Okay guys, step number 7. This is where you make an offer. So you found the one. Awesome. The best advice I can give you is just to craft a competitive bid that checks all the seller's boxes. Price, contingency, how much of a deposit you want to put down. I won't get into the weeds of all those little things, but they're phrases to remember. Well, how do you check all the seller's boxes? You pick up the phone and you call them and ask them, say, hey, how soon do you want to close? Do you need time to close? It's not always about the money. And most sellers love a good story. If you can figure out a way to weave your personal story into your offer without violating any fair housing laws, use that to your advantage. Step number 8, guys, you just got to close the deal. From inspections to appraisals to your final walkthrough, make sure you have a guide every step of the way. So you got your offer accepted, you got your inspection phase. I don't like going to inspections because they take 3-4 hours sometimes, but you're going to be the one paying for it because you're the buyer. So I would recommend you go. It's a really good educational process. I've been to many, and it's always good to hear an inspector say, well, hey, there's a defect here, but it's not a reason that I wouldn't buy the house. And when your inspector's done, he's going to give you this thick book of a report of all the defects that he found with the house. It'll be stuff as little as peeling paint, a squeaky doorknob, and sometimes you might get caught off guard when he finds moisture seeping through the foundation. Ask me how I know. When you get that inspection report back, read it by yourself or with your realtor and pick out all the major items that would prevent you from buying the house. If it just needs a little drywall patched here and there, a leaky faucet fixed, I personally can live with that. But if you find termites, if the chimney needs repointed and the foundation's buckling, you might want to jump ship while you can, or get the seller to fix it. Once the inspections are done, you're going to have what's called an appraisal. An appraisal is where a bank sends someone called an appraiser out to estimate the value of the home you made an offer on. So if you made an offer for $300,000 on a home and the appraisal says $300,000, great. That means the house is worth what you're paying for it. And if you buy that same house for $300,000 and the appraisal comes back at $310,000, that means it's worth more than what you paid. But here's where it gets a little hairy. So on that same house, if you made a $300,000 offer and the appraisal came back at $295,000 or $290,000, that difference has to be made up. Either the seller comes down, or you can come up, or you can meet in the middle somewhere to make up that appraisal deficiency, or appraisal deficit is what it's called. If I'm representing a buyer, I usually say, hey, look, just ask the seller to come down, because most people have enough common sense to realize that they're getting top dollar for their home. Heck, you were even willing to pay more than what it appraised for, but you still have to qualify for your financing. The best bet is always to ask the seller to come down and just see what they say. Nothing says you can't make up the difference on your own, but that's extra cash that's coming out of your pocket. Okay, guys, once the appraisal is done, you make it to the final walkthrough. Now, the final walkthrough takes about 15-20 minutes. All you're doing is walking through the house, and if the seller agreed to do any repairs from the inspection, this is where you go around with your list and you check and make sure that they did them all. And also, you're essentially making sure the house is in the same condition that it was when you first made the offer. So if you had the agreement of sale that the washer and dryer are staying, make sure the washer and dryer are there, because when the walkthrough is over, there's going to be a piece of paper you sign that says you either accept the property in its current condition or XYZ has to be done based on the findings at the walkthrough. Guys, please don't take this as legal or accounting advice. This is just stuff I've learned from selling houses over the past 7 years. So if you need legal or accounting advice, make sure you get it from a qualified professional. And if you're ready to buy a home and you live in the central Pennsylvania area, like the greater Harrisburg area, that's where I'm at, and you want to get access to off-market and unlisted properties that are not readily available on the internet, give me a shout and I can help you navigate the sale process. And my team and I are so committed to finding you the right home that if you buy a home using my team and I and you're not satisfied, we'll sell it for free. 0% commission. I'll put our contact info in the description and check it out when you can. Thanks, guys. If you got any value out of this, please subscribe. It goes a long way. And I hope you're starting the year off right. And I look forward to seeing you next time.